Now what the hell is this? Get me out of here. I am a pilot. I gotta fly.
Imagine a scene. A small group of determined colonists step out onto the surface of a pristine, untamed planet. The air is clean, the landscape vast and alien. They've left behind a dying Earth, where environmental collapse has forced humanity into sterile space stations. These aren't military personnel or hardened explorers. They're families, led by a mother desperate to save her sick child. This was the powerful premise of Earth 2, NBC's ambitious science fiction series that premiered in 1994 and, despite its short run, left an indelible mark on television sci-fi.
And I will shoot you in cold blood in front of my daughter. Do you understand me?
When Earth 2 arrived on television screens in November 1994, it emerged during a fascinating period for science fiction. The X-Files was gaining momentum. Star Trek. The Next Generation had just concluded, and environmental consciousness was steadily rising in the public consciousness. The series wasn't just another space adventure. It was a thoughtful exploration of humanity's relationship with nature, wrapped in the veneer of a pioneer story.
It's okay, pal. I'm not going anywhere.
With a considerable budget for television at the time, Earth 2 showcased impressive production values, from its sweeping New Mexico locations standing in for an alien world to its practical creature effects. Despite solid initial ratings, the show struggled to maintain its audience over its 21-episode run, ultimately facing cancellation after just one season. In this video, we'll explore how Earth 2 pioneered eco-futurism on television decades before it became a common theme. Through its unique blend of family drama, hard science fiction, and environmental messaging, the series created something truly special that was perhaps too ahead of its time. From groundbreaking visual storytelling to its complex moral questions about colonization, we'll see why this overlooked gem continues to matter to those lucky enough to have discovered it.
I thought I'd heard the last from you.
What elevated Earth 2 beyond typical 90s sci-fi fare was its commitment to visual and technical authenticity. The series famously shot on location in New Mexico, whose stark, otherworldly landscapes provided the perfect backdrop for the planet G889. This decision gave the show a distinctive visual identity that studio sets could never achieve. Harsh sunlight casting long shadows across alien terrain, weather genuinely affecting the characters, and a tangible sense of isolation that digital effects simply couldn't replicate. The show's most impressive technical achievement may have been its creation of the Terrians, the indigenous species of G889. Rather than relying on the emerging CGI of the era, the production team used practical effects, combining elaborate makeup, puppetry, and carefully choreographed movements to bring these creatures to life. The result was alien beings that felt genuinely otherworldly, yet physically present in the same space as the human actors. Visually, Earth 2 employed a deliberate contrast between human technology and natural environments. The cold, metallic interiors of the colonists' vehicles and equipment stood in stark opposition to the warm, earthy tones of the planet. Cinematographers frequently emphasized this juxtaposition through wide shots that dwarfed human characters against massive landscapes, reinforcing the theme of humanity's small place in a much larger ecosystem. The production faced significant challenges, none more daunting than balancing hard science fiction concepts with accessible family drama. Executive producer Michael Dugan and his team tackled this by grounding fantastical elements in relatable human concerns: a mother's worry for her child's health, a father's desire to protect his daughter, communities forming reluctant alliances for survival. Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment provided production support, lending the series the thoughtful approach to alien contact that characterized much of Spielberg's work. This influence appears most clearly in the show's treatment of the Terrians, not as monsters or simple obstacles, but as complex beings with their own culture and connection to their world. Perhaps the most innovative aspect of Earth 2 was its ecological vision. While other science fiction of the period often portrayed alien worlds as resources to be conquered or dangers to be overcome, Earth 2 presented G889 as a delicate ecosystem with which humans needed to establish harmony. Episodes frequently centered around the colonists' discovery that the planet itself functioned as an interconnected organism, a concept that predated similar themes in mainstream science fiction films by years. Behind the scenes, the writers' room struggled with network pressure to deliver more conventional action plotlines, while staying true to their vision of a thoughtful exploration of humanity's relationship with nature. This tension ultimately contributed to the show's premature cancellation, but also to its unique place in television history as a series that refused to simplify its complex themes. Earth 2 assembled a remarkable ensemble cast that elevated the material beyond typical genre fare. At its center was Deborah Farentino's Devon Adair, a character who defied 90s television conventions. As the wealthy founder of the Eden Project, Devon wasn't just a mother desperate to save her son from the syndrome affecting Earth's station-born children. She was a visionary leader whose determination drove the entire colonization effort. Farentino balanced Devon's steely resolve with genuine vulnerability, particularly in scenes with her son Yale, creating a female protagonist who was refreshingly complex for the era. Clancy Brown brought his formidable presence to John Danziger, the blue-collar mechanic suddenly thrust into a leadership role. Brown's nuanced performance revealed Danziger's evolution from reluctant participant to invested community member. His scenes with Jessica Steen, who played his daughter True, grounded the fantastical setting in genuine parent-child dynamics that viewers could recognize. Their relationship served as a counterpoint to Devon's more privileged approach to parenthood. The show's emotional core often centered on Antonio Sabato Jr. S. Alonso Solis, the pilot whose connection with the Terrians through dreams opened communication between humans and the indigenous species. Sabato brought unexpected depth to what could have been a straightforward role, particularly as Alonso struggled with his growing sympathy for the Terrians against his loyalty to the human colonists. Among the series' most memorable sequences was the group's first meaningful contact with the Terrians in the early episodes. Rather than portraying a conventional alien encounter, the scene unfolded through dreamscape communication, surreal, disorienting, and unlike anything else on television at the time. This approach emphasized the fundamental message that understanding different species would require humans to change their perspective, not force others to adapt to human methods. The perilous crossing of the sands, a vast desert where the group faced starvation, dehydration, and unfamiliar dangers, showcased the show's commitment to portraying colonization as a genuine struggle rather than an adventure. These episodes highlighted how environmental challenges, rather than alien monsters, posed the most consistent threat to survival. Each character's arc connected to the show's central themes of adaptation and coexistence. Yale's journey as a convicted criminal given a second chance through memory wipe reflected questions about redemption and identity. Dr. Julia Heller's conflict between her secret mission for the Council and her growing loyalty to the Eden Group explored the ethics of divided loyalties. Morgan and Bess Martin's relationship illustrated class differences and how crisis could either reinforce or break down social barriers. What made these performances resonate was how they collectively portrayed a community forming under pressure. Imperfect people forced to rely on one another despite their differences, mirroring the larger theme of humans learning to coexist with an unfamiliar environment. When Earth 2 premiered in November 1994, critical reception was decidedly mixed. Many reviewers praised its ambitious scope and visual style, but criticized what they perceived as slow pacing and excessive family drama. The Los Angeles Times called it visually striking, but dramatically inert, while others compared it unfavorably to more action-oriented sci-fi shows of the era. NBC initially scheduled it in a prime Sunday night slot, demonstrating faith in the concept. But inconsistent scheduling and frequent preemptions disrupted viewer engagement. The series struggled with the fundamental challenge that would later affect many serialized science fiction shows. It required viewers to commit from the beginning to understand its gradually unfolding mysteries. In an era before streaming and on-demand viewing, missing a single episode could leave audience members confused about plot developments, particularly regarding the complex relationship between the Terrians and the planet's ecology. Despite these challenges, Earth 2 developed a passionate core audience that recognized its unique contribution to television science fiction. These dedicated viewers appreciated precisely what critics overlooked. The show's deliberate pace allowed for nuanced character development, while its family dynamics grounded the high-concept science fiction in relatable human stories. The most controversial aspect of Earth 2 remains its abrupt cancellation. The final episode ended with major unresolved plot lines, including the discovery of other human colonies and growing tensions between Eden Project settlers and Earth government forces. This premature conclusion transformed what might have been viewed as an interesting but complete series into a frustrating, what could have been scenario that continues to fuel fan discussions decades later. What's fascinating about Earth 2 is how audience perception has evolved over time. Elements initially criticized as weaknesses are now recognized as strengths. Its environmental focus, once considered heavy-handed, now seems prescient in an era of climate crisis awareness. Its deliberate pace and character-driven storytelling align perfectly with modern prestige television approaches. What seemed like an outlier in 1994 would fit comfortably alongside critically acclaimed sci-fi series of the 2000s and 2020s. Attentive viewers have noted the show's careful world-building through subtle details, the consistent ecology of G889, the complex politics of the space stations left behind on Earth, and the gradual revelation of the planet's true nature. These elements were laying groundwork for storylines that would never materialize but demonstrate the thoughtful planning behind the series. Perhaps most revealing is how differently Earth 2 treated its alien species compared to contemporaries. The Terrians weren't monsters to defeat or simply obstacles to human progress. They were sentient beings with their own valid perspective, communicating through dreams because their consciousness functioned differently from humans. This approach foreshadowed later science fiction works that would similarly challenge anthropocentric viewpoints and explore genuine alienness rather than humanoid aliens with forehead prosthetics. Legacy and modern relevance. The influence of Earth 2 extends far beyond its brief broadcast run, quietly shaping later science fiction television in ways that often go unrecognized. Shows like Defiance and Terra Nova clearly borrowed elements from its premise of humans establishing communities on unfamiliar worlds. More significantly, its emphasis on environmental interconnectedness presaged the themes of James Cameron's Avatar by nearly 15 years, particularly in its portrayal of indigenous species with a profound psychic connection to their planet. The series pioneered what we might now call ecofuturism on television, the exploration of how humanity might develop more sustainable relationships with natural environments rather than simply conquering or exploiting them. This approach feels remarkably current in our era of accelerating climate awareness. Episodes frequently centered around the colonists discovering that actions which seemed harmless or necessary for survival had unexpected consequences for G889's ecosystem, a message that resonates even more powerfully today than when it first aired. Earth 2 also tackled ethical questions about colonization that mainstream science fiction often avoided. Rather than presenting the human settlement of another planet as an unquestioned right, the show repeatedly forced characters to confront their impact on an already inhabited world. Through the character of Alonso and his dream connections with the Terrians, viewers witnessed the gradual realization that humans were not entitled to reshape this world in Earth's image. This nuanced approach to colonization ethics has become increasingly relevant in contemporary science fiction and cultural discussions. The series demonstrated remarkable foresight in its portrayal of environmental collapse as humanity's greatest threat. While other 90s science fiction often imagined nuclear war or alien invasion as civilization-ending scenarios, Earth 2 presented a future where environmental degradation had rendered Earth's surface uninhabitable, forcing humanity into artificial habitats. This premise, considered somewhat niche at the time, now reflects widespread concerns about our planet's future. Despite never receiving the comprehensive streaming release it deserves, Earth 2 maintains a devoted following. Fan sites preserve episode guides and analysis, while occasional appearances on streaming platforms introduce new viewers to its unique vision. Each rediscovery seems to bring appreciation from viewers who recognize how ahead of its time the series truly was. What makes Earth 2 significant today isn't just nostalgia. It's the realization that many of its central questions remain unanswered in our current science fiction landscape. How can humanity expand without repeating patterns of exploitation? Can we develop technology that works with natural systems rather than against them? What responsibilities do we have to other forms of intelligence we might encounter? These questions feel more urgent now than when the show first posed them. Earth 2 wasn't just a science fiction series. It was a visionary work that anticipated conversations about environmental stewardship, ethical colonization, and human adaptation that would become central to 21st century science fiction. Its cancellation didn't just leave storylines unresolved, it interrupted an important contribution to how we imagine our possible futures. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into a series that was truly ahead of its time, please subscribe for more explorations of overlooked science fiction gems that deserve another look. What other 90s series do you think were unfairly canceled before their time? Share your thoughts in the comments below.